Hickok 45, look what I have. 22, these big bullets. K-22 Outdoorsman. Yes, a pre-model 1917. Well, no, excuse me, model 17. Made by Smith & Wesson. And this is an oldie but a goodie. 22 long rifle Outdoorsman. Let's take a, you know what we ought to shoot with it too, don't you? A tin can. Yep, 22s and tin cans go hand in hand. And even an occasional 12-ouncer. Yeah. Look at those, that cylinder with those big cartridges in it. It's not exactly a 44. Anybody load those, I'll save them for you. But it's still pretty cool. We all like a 22, if we can find ammo, right? Yeah, this is a vintage piece. I have not had a Model 17, Smith & Wesson, or a 617 ever. Never have owned one, and I shot one. A friend or so might have had over the years, but I've never owned one, and we've never done a video on one. I keep thinking we'd get a 617 sometime. I think they hold 9 rounds, 10 rounds or something. That would be my first choice as a shooter. But these old ones are just special. They're really cool. And this one, because it's so old, and I jumped on this one at the chance of it, and I started doing the research on it. I realized it's even older than I thought originally. This may not be the original box. They're not sure because it doesn't have the serial number on the box, but it's you know, it's the proper box if it's not. And I'm sure most of these got lost over the years, so it probably is the original box. Who knows? But the K-22, because the Outdoorsman was manufactured by Smith & Wesson from 31 to 39 or 40, the very last month of 1939. So 31 through 40, and they only made about 17,000 of them, just a little bit over that. So this is a pretty cool little gun. It's again, Smith & Wesson, I think, didn't start putting the model numbers on their revolvers until the 50s. So it wasn't until the 50s that this became known as the model, 17. And then of course later on you have the stainless models, and they're the 617s, and there's all sorts of different configurations of these 22 revolvers through the years. And then they quit making the 17 in, I think, 1998. And now I believe they're making it again. Around 2009 they started making it as kind of one of the vintage guns, in blue, because they quit making blued guns there in the late 90s, I think. Excuse me, I think it's hard to find a blued gun after 2000, made by Smith & Wesson, unless it's one of the vintage classics they brought back, which they have done with several of their firearms, of course. So this one goes back. Now I looked at the serial number, and it's let's see, 675,000. It's on the butt, it's on the cylinder right there. It's hard to read it, but it's right there. It's on the butt of the gun, and it is, where else? Oh, it's on the grips, and on the inside of the grips, I've taken those off, and it all matches. So you got all matching parts, so it's all original. And then under the barrel, also on the flat part, it's got the serial number, like right there. So it's an all matching gun. Pretty cool, and it seems really mechanically sound. It's not in perfect condition. You got a little blemish here and there, but it's neat. And the grips are original because again the numbers match. So this is a kind of a prize I'd like to hang on to, but I can't do it. Let me take a couple more shots with it. I'm shooting federal ammo, so we check that out. All right. I wonder if you think they had 2 liters back in 38, and I think I was distracted there what I was getting into with it. Based on the serial number, this thing was made and right around the latter years of production, 39, maybe 38. Okay, I pinpointed it based on some other guns, doing some research, that the serial number is just a little bit below this, or maybe like 37 and that kind of thing. And this one's towards the end. You can tell from the 2 screws in the rear sight. So it's like the last year, or maybe the next to the last year of production. And like I said, the serial number, I think, what was it, 675,000. You could look it up, you know, if you've got the reference. It's not as easy to find these online with the old Smiths. But let's see if it will shoot a 2-liter, even though it was made in the 1930s. Yeah, it will work, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, 2-liter worthy. Cool. Oh, man. And let's see if it'll smoke pot. Yep, sure will. Now, these things are supposed to be accurate. Now, that doesn't mean I am. Boom. I think I'm empty, aren't I? Yeah. Okay. Just hold 6. And that's of course not a lot of rounds for a big old heavy gun like this, is it? 6 rounds. That's one reason I never bought one. My dad had it, you've seen it out here, the high standard, it holds 9 rounds. And a revolver in 22 chambering ought to hold more than 6 rounds. That's kind of the way I look at it. And there's some neat ones like that. And the new Smith & Wessons, you know, do. This one's cool though because it's such a vintage firearm. The reason I have this other one out here, this is just a Model 10. Again, it goes back even before they were called Model 10s. So this is an early one. You've seen this in a video, I hope. The 38 Special, K-frame. And the reason I brought it out was just as a reminder how these came about. And around 1899, you know, when Smith & Wesson came out with a hand ejector 38, you know, which was basically this gun. This one is just a little different. And this firearm has undergone a few changes over the years, but not many. I mean, this is the gun. If you look up gun in the dictionary, that might be what you see, you know, a Model 10 Smith & Wesson. And it's just classic K-frame. And when these came out, people fell in love with them because of the size. They're just so handy, the perfect size, you know, just perfect. And that's why the Model 19 that came out in, I don't know what year it came out. The 357 Magnum came out in 35 in a bigger frame, end frame. And then later, thanks to Bill Jordan and others, and I forget what year it was, in the 50s somewhere, somebody will correct me, but they started chambering this size gun in 357 Magnum. You know, and of course the rest is history. Now you can get a 357 Magnum, you can hide in your shirt pocket, right? Because of metallurgy improvements and all that sort of thing. But anyway, this was just, people fell in love with this size firearm, and it's easy to see why. Because I really like it, and about anybody does. And they started clamoring for a 22 in that same frame, in the 20s, and then so in the 30s, or I guess in the 20s, they started developing this and came out with this in the 30s, a 22 in kind of the same frame and format revolver. All right, and again, we're going back in the days when the revolver was king. Yeah, the 1911 was there, maybe another one or two, but the revolver was king. And so in the 20s and the 30s, rather, these were produced, and of course it's been produced ever since. Pretty cool. So this is a pretty old gun, and the ones that were made in the 30s were called the Outdoorsman. All right, it's not written on the gun, but they were called the Outdoorsman. Okay, the K-frame, the K22. All right, and you see there's 5 screws on these too. And in fact, this is a 5-screw model. It's so old. Yeah. If you got a Smith & Wesson revolver, look up under there. You probably don't have a screw there in front of the trigger guard. Okay, and then 4 right here. There's one under the grip there. So those are the 5 screws. When you hear a Smith & Wesson referred to as a 5-screw model, you're going back into probably at least the 50s, I think. I don't know. And then this one, of course, going back into the 30s. You know, it's got the screw there, holds in the cylinder plunger, and then you've got the 4. You can see here because the grips are not as big. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was for you folks in Kentucky, my relatives in Kentucky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They just can't believe I learned how to count since I moved away into Tennessee. But it's a 5-screw model, okay? And that makes them more collectible too, of course, if you go back into the 5-screw era, all right? So anyway, very, very popular, and anybody that knows revolvers and Smith & Wessons, you know, I'm not telling you anything. These are just popular guns, and they're fun to shoot. No telling how many people have spent afternoons out plinking with a Model 17. Just chunking lead at tin cans, right? Through the years, hard to beat. And these rascals are supposed to be very, very accurate. You know, it's got a really nice trigger, about a 2.5, 3 pound single action trigger. And of course the double actions are kind of heavy, probably 9 or 12 pounds or something, but it's smooth. So they made them right back then. Smith has always done a good job on triggers, I'll have to say. Let's just put one on the gong. Break this old vintage gun in. I heard that sound. Yeah, let's try that red plate. Can't really tell. I'm not sure. Need my electronic muffs for that kind of thing. 22s just don't make a lot of sound when they hit the steel, okay? All right, pretty cool. What else have I not told you about it? It's let's see. Adjustable rear sight. I think that was kind of a big deal. You know, all the 38s I don't think had adjustable sights that, you know, that came out, the military models, and then even the hand ejector model, which was really the early Model 10, you know, an early version of this. I don't think any or very few actually had adjustable sights. So I think that was kind of a newer thing right there. And of course your color case hardened hammer and trigger, that's neat. This might have been the first model that did that, I'm not sure. These were considered a premium firearm. And of course they are today. I mean, this is a fairly expensive firearm. I don't know what it's worth exactly. Well, yeah, I do. It's worth whatever somebody will pay for it, right? Like anything. But I think, depending on condition, these things sell for between $1,000, $2,000, and maybe more if they're in really primo condition. I just don't know. But old Smiths have gotten crazy in terms of collectability lately, just like some of the Colt revolvers. So just the way it is. They're very desirable. And who'd have thunk it back in the 70s when I was shooting and buying and trading Smith & Wessons, that those very same firearms now are so collectible. So hang on to whatever you think is junk today. It might be collectible in 30 years. All right. Oh, we got another pot and a couple of 12 ounces. We'll cock it and pop them, yeah. Oh, got a little smoke. A little more smoke. Yeah. I think I'm empty. I'm gonna go double action on that 2-liter. Yeah, see, I wasn't confident enough that I had another round. So we'll have to take care of him. Yeah, 22 is fun. I think the ammo situation's gotten a little bit better. So, like I say, this is a firearm that I wouldn't mind owning because of just the age. It's an old Smith. I love them. Of course, I won't own it because it's going back to for the e-gunner. By the way, we haven't talked about that lately, y'all. When we first started doing that, I did mention it a couple of times, but we can get just about any firearm that Buds has, you know, and then they auction them off, and 10% of whatever the firearm brings goes to the Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. You know, we went through that when we started doing that, and the rest of it's Buds, and none of it goes to us. But that was kind of the agreement, you know, if they would send 10% to the Second Harvest Food Bank. Anyway, I got a statement recently on that, and we've been doing that for a few months now, and there were thousands of dollars have gone to the food bank here in Middle Tennessee. So just thought I'd mention that, and we appreciate you all participating in that program, because some people get some food that maybe they wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. All right, Mr. Green 2-liter, you smart aleck. Wait a minute, let's just go double action, what I was trying to do before. All right. There we go. Oh, did a somersault. He was so happy to be hit, right? We'll go with the red plate again. Let me take an ear out here so I can hear it better if it hits it. Oh, okay. I was holding a little high. Yeah, popped him that time. Let's go, Mr. Gong. Click. That's a nice revolver, I'll tell you. I kind of hate that Smith & Wesson has discontinued so many of these old blued revolvers. They are bringing them back, but you get that key lock hole in a lot of them. Maybe all of them, I'm not sure. Seems like some of them maybe don't have that now. They're nice. I applaud them for bringing some of them back. You can sort of tell when you see them that they're a remake of it, but they're pretty true to the originals, I'll have to say. And but boy, there's nothing like having a vintage one, because you know where this thing has been since 1939. You know, and of course they kind of suspended operations or manufacture of things like this in 1940-41. Quiz time. Can you tell me why? There's a little bit of an event that took place, you know, 40, 41, 45, overseas. So World War II, minor event, yeah. So the production of firearms was redirected, basically all the gun companies, you know, to military firearms, right? And but other than that, and it was the same with the Colt single action. That's why they quit making it, you know, in 1940 or whenever it was, and then resumed afterwards in the 50s. But a lot of firearms maybe ceased production there for a little bit. But these things have been getting cranked out, you know, ever since in some format. You know, they were called the K-22 Masterpiece after the Outdoorsman, and then other models and barrel lengths and different configurations. But it's a pretty cool gun, and somebody will be lucky to own this thing, because it appears to be original finish, and you know, again, I think you got a pretty good look at it. I don't see anything. I haven't discovered anything. You got a little marring there. Like I say, the grips match and serial number. They matched them up back then. You got your one line address there, made in USA. You got all the things that identify, you know, basically the time period of this firearm. In my research, it became very, very obvious, you know, with the serial number and then all the various characteristics of it. When it was made, I just couldn't get the exact year that I would bet my life on, but it's 38, 39. Pretty cool gun. K22 Outdoorsman. Kind of firearm that a lot of people probably have in their safe, or would put in their safe if they owned it, shoot it occasionally, and just let it age, just like a bottle of wine or something. Good old 22. And it will shoot 22 shorts or 22 longs, you know, like any revolver, you know, like this, of course. But I think they considered it a long rifle when it was you know, came out. We think of these things as long rifle, but they'll fire any length of cartridge. Whereas a semi-automatic, here we go again, no extra charge, but for new shooters, you can see why, because it doesn't really matter what length the cartridge is, as long as it's the correct one that you put in there, right? If it's a little shorter, it's not a big deal. Whereas if you have a semi-automatic firearm, then it's got to function and pull it up, and the carrier and everything that manipulates that cartridge, then you run into trouble if you get a shorter cartridge, you know, involved. Sometimes even a 44 Magnum lever gun doesn't like to handle 44 specials, which are a little bit shorter, you know, as well, and 357 versus 38. Just depends on the rifle. And then with 22s, I think you pretty much forget it. You know, it's got to be a long rifle. And of course, it's pinned and recessed like the Smiths were back then. So, pretty neat old gun. I'm glad to have the opportunity to shoot it, and also to bring it to you. A vintage Smith & Wesson. Wow, 1930s. That goes back a ways. Man, I was about 20, I think, at that time. Life is good. Well, since I'm still here, let me go ahead and thank SDI, the Sonoran Desert Institute, for their support of the channel. If you're not familiar with them, they do distance learning. They're fully accredited. You can get a certification in gunsmithing there. You can even get an associate degree in firearms technology, and you can go on to do a lot of different things with that, you know, if you're interested. So, you know, there's hands-on training and everything. So check the link in the description, sdi.edu, and you know, check it out. I do a lot of work with veterans, so it might be of some interest to you. So check that out. And also keep in mind, while I've got you, while I'm still here, that we are on Full 30 now. All our videos are over on full30.com, and there's a link in the video descriptions to that as well. So, you know, watch us wherever you like to. YouTube, Full 30, better yet, both. And keep in mind that we have the Hickok 45 and Son channel. John does a lot of things over there. I do some things over there, some Hickok history, different things. We've got the Hickok 45 Facebook page. We do a lot on that. There's 400,000 people following that. I hope you're one of them. The Hickok 45 and Son Facebook page. So got a lot going on there. Got the Gun Culture Radio show that John does, and I'm on that show sometimes. Over on Hickok 45 and Son. So just wanted to make you aware of everything that's going on in case you might not be familiar with it, okay? And you'd better start getting familiar with it, because if you don't, I'm going to come to your house and have a chat with you. You don't want that to happen. And if I do, you'd better have good donuts and good coffee waiting for me, okay?